Have you ever felt like you're working harder than everyone else but still falling behind financially? What if the very rules you were taught about building a career are the exact things holding you back? I have observed countless people work themselves to exhaustion and remain financially constrained for their entire lives. And it's truly heartbreaking because the core issue isn't that they lack a strong work ethic. The real problem is that they are making 6 fundamental career mistakes that virtually guarantee poverty, regardless of how many hours they dedicate to their work. For decades, I've studied why some individuals accumulate wealth, while others, who seem to work twice as hard, have almost nothing to show for their efforts. What I've uncovered might make you frustrated, because the system almost seems engineered to keep you making these very errors. Your parents likely made them. Your educators probably reinforced them. Your employer benefits from them. And if you don't correct them immediately, you'll likely work for 40 years, arrive at retirement with very little, and be left wondering what went wrong. But I know precisely what went wrong, and I know precisely how to address it. The very fact that you are engaging with this information suggests you already have a sense that something isn't right with the conventional approach to a career. Trust that feeling. It's an instinct that could be life-changing. Career mistake number 1. You're trading time for money instead of building leverage. This is the foundational error that keeps more people in poverty than any other mistake combined. Until you fully grasp this concept, nothing else I share will have a real impact. Let me clarify what I mean. When you have a job, any job at all, you are fundamentally exchanging your time for currency. You show up for 8 hours, you are paid for 8 hours. You show up for 40 hours, you are paid for 40 hours. The equation is straightforward. More hours result in more money, and fewer hours result in less money. This appears to be a fair and logical arrangement. It's how 95% of the population structures their entire working lives. And this is exactly why 95% of people never manage to build significant wealth. Here is the problem. Time is your single non-renewable resource. You can always make more money. You can certainly acquire more skills. You can forge new relationships. But you can never, ever create more time. You are allotted 24 hours each day. When those hours are spent, they are gone permanently. So, when you agree to trade your time for money, you are, in a literal sense, trading your life for money. And because your life is finite, your earning potential is automatically capped the very moment you accept this trade. Let me provide the actual numbers so you can see just how devastating this is. Let's imagine you earn $50,000 per year. That's roughly $24 an hour if you're working a full-time schedule. Now, let's say you are incredibly ambitious and you decide to work 60 hours every week instead of the standard 40. You are now working 50% more than almost everyone else. You are sacrificing your evenings, your weekends, and your time with family. And what is the result? Your income increases to $75,000 per year. You increased your effort by 50%, and in return, your income grew by 50%. It's a perfect correlation, except you've just traded away 15 years of your life, 15 years of evenings and weekends over a 40-year career, all for an additional $25,000 per year. That amounts to an extra $1 million, which certainly sounds appealing until you fully realize that you gave up 15 years of your actual lived life to acquire it. But here is what makes this truly devastating. That $1 million isn't even genuine wealth, because the entire time you were working those extra hours, inflation was silently eroding your savings. Taxes were taking a significant portion, perhaps 40%, of everything you earned. And you had no time left over to learn how to invest, to build any assets, or to create anything that could generate income without your direct manual labor. So, you work yourself to the bone for 40 years, and at the end of it all, you might have, if you're lucky, $500,000 in your retirement account. You are now 65 years old, your health is compromised, and you have none of the energy required to enjoy the very money you killed yourself to earn. This is the direct result of trading time for money. It transforms your life into a prison where the only path to earning more is to give up more of the one thing you can never get back. And the truly sick part is that the system is intentionally designed this way. As long as you are stuck trading time for money, you can never build enough wealth to escape. You can never accumulate enough leverage to compete with the people who own the assets. You are permanently trapped in what I call the time for money prison. Now, let me explain what leverage is and why it's the only thing that truly matters. Leverage means you create something one time, and it generates value for you many times over. You build a system once, and it produces income repeatedly. You make an investment one time, and it compounds, ideally forever. Leverage breaks the direct link between your time and your income. The moment you successfully break that connection, everything in your financial life changes. Here is a simple example. Let's say you're a graphic designer. If you trade time for money, you charge $50 per hour, and you can work maybe 40 billable hours in a week if you're fortunate. This effectively caps your income at about $100,000 per year, and you must work every single one of those hours to earn it. But if you build leverage, you create a design template one time and you sell it 1,000 times, or you build an online course teaching design and you sell it to 10,000 people, or you hire 3 other designers and you take a 20% cut of their billings while they perform the work. Suddenly, your income is no longer capped by the hours you can personally work. You could make $10,000 in a single day or $100,000 in a single month, and you didn't work any harder. You just stopped trading your time for money and started building leverage. This is how every wealthy person in history has made their money. They built leverage. Bezos doesn't earn money by working more hours. He owns a system, Amazon, that generates billions in value whether he is working or not. Buffett doesn't make money by trading his time. He owns assets, stocks in great companies that compound forever without his direct involvement. Musk doesn't make money on an hourly basis. He builds companies that create products millions of people purchase, and he captures a percentage of all that value created. And here is what nobody tells you. Building leverage isn't necessarily harder than working 60 hours per week. It is just different. It demands that you think like an owner instead of an employee. It requires you to build systems instead of just completing tasks. It requires you to focus on creating value that scales instead of value that is tied directly to your personal time. But once you make this fundamental shift, once you stop trading time for money and start building leverage, your entire financial life transforms, because now your income isn't capped by the hours in a day. It is only capped by how much value you can create and how many people you can reach. So here is what you need to do right now. Look at your current job and ask yourself this: am I building leverage or am I just trading time? If you are trading time, you need to start building leverage immediately. That might mean starting a side business that has the potential to scale. It might mean learning skills that allow you to create digital products. It might mean investing in assets that generate passive income. It might mean building an audience online that you can monetize later. But whatever you choose to do, you absolutely must break the connection between your time and your income. Because if you don't, you will work hard your entire life and have nothing to show for it. Career mistake number 2. You're optimizing for salary instead of learning. And this particular mistake destroys more careers than almost anything else. Let me tell you exactly how this works and why it is so deadly. When you are young, let's say you are 25 years old, you find yourself with 2 job offers. Job A pays $60,000 per year. It is a stable corporate position, has decent benefits, but the work is mind-numbingly boring. You will likely be doing the same thing every day for years. Job B pays $45,000 per year. It is at a small startup, and the environment is chaotic. You will have to wear 10 different hats. You will learn marketing, sales, operations, finance, and product development. You will work directly with the founders. You will see how a business actually works from the inside out. 95% of people will take Job A because 60,000 is more than 45,000. It's basic math. And for the first 5 years, it absolutely looks like they made the smart choice. They are making more money. They are more comfortable. They can afford a nicer apartment. Meanwhile, the person who took Job B is struggling. They are working longer hours for less pay. They are stressed out. They are broke. But here is what happens after 10 years. The person who took Job A is now making $80,000 per year. They receive their standard 3% annual raises. They are still doing basically the same job they were doing 10 years ago. They are comfortable, but they are completely stuck. The person who took Job B spent 5 years learning everything about how businesses operate, then started their own company, and now they are making $300,000 per year. Or they became a key executive at a fast-growing company because they possess skills that nobody else has. Or they became a consultant charging $500 per hour because they have expertise that is actually valuable. The difference isn't intelligence. The difference isn't luck. The difference is that one person optimized for a short-term salary and the other person optimized for long-term learning. And in your 20s and 30s, learning is worth 10 times more than salary because the skills you build in your 20s determine your earning potential for the rest of your life. Here is the math that makes this crystal clear. Let's say you take a job that pays $20,000 more per year but teaches you absolutely nothing. Over 10 years, you make an extra $200,000. That's not bad. But let's say you take a job that pays $20,000 less per year, but teaches you skills that increase your earning potential by $50,000 per year after those 10 years. Over the next 30 years of your career, that's an extra $1.5 million. You gave up $200,000 to gain $1.5 million. That is a 750% return on your investment. But most people cannot see this because most people are broke in their 20s. And when you are broke, an extra $20,000 per year feels like life-changing money. So, you take the higher-paying job and you lock yourself into a career path that teaches you nothing. And 10 years later, you're stuck making $80,000 with no skills that are actually valuable in the marketplace. I see this mistake everywhere. People taking corporate jobs that pay well but teach them nothing. People staying in comfortable positions because they are afraid to take a pay cut. People optimizing for this year's salary instead of the next decade's earning potential. And it kills me because your 20s and 30s are the only time in your life when you have the energy and the freedom to make these kinds of bets. Once you have a mortgage and kids and responsibilities, it is much, much harder to take a lower paying job just to learn new skills. So here is what you need to do. If you are under 35 years old, stop optimizing for salary. Start optimizing for learning. Take the job that teaches you the most, even if it pays less. Work for the smartest person you can find, even if the company is small. Learn skills that are actually valuable. Skills like sales, marketing, negotiation, financial analysis, operations, and leadership. Because these skills compound. Every new skill you learn makes you more valuable. Every new skill opens doors to higher paying opportunities. And by the time you are 40, you will have a skill set that is so valuable you can name your own price. But if you optimize for salary in your 20s, you will be stuck in your 40s making the same salary you made in your 30s, wondering why you never got ahead. Career mistake number 3. You're waiting for permission instead of creating your own opportunities. This one drives me insane because I watch talented people sit around for years waiting for someone to promote them, waiting for someone to give them a raise, waiting for someone to recognize their value. And they wait, and they wait, and they wait, and nothing happens. Because nobody is coming to save you. Let me tell you how the world actually works. Your boss is not sitting around thinking about how to make you rich. Your company is not holding strategy sessions about your career development. They are trying to extract as much value from you as possible while paying you as little as they can get away with. This isn't evil. This is just economics. The company's job is to maximize shareholder value, not to maximize your income. So, if you are waiting for your boss to give you a raise, you are waiting for someone to voluntarily reduce company profits just to increase your income. This does happen occasionally, but it's not nearly often enough to build a career around. Here is what actually works. You create your own opportunities. You don't wait for a promotion. You build skills that make you promotable, and then you go get a better offer from another company and use it as leverage. You don't wait for a raise. You meticulously document your value, show exactly how you have generated revenue or saved costs, and then you negotiate. You don't wait for someone to recognize your talent. You build a portfolio of work that is so impressive that people simply cannot ignore you. Let me give you a specific example. When I was a young lawyer, I could have just waited for the senior partners to promote me. I could have put in my hours, done good work, and just hoped that someone noticed. But I didn't do that. I started building relationships with clients directly. I started bringing new business into the firm. I started making myself invaluable. And within a few years, I didn't need the firm anymore. I had enough clients and enough skills to start my own practice. I created my own opportunity instead of waiting for permission. This is what every successful person I know has done. They did not wait for someone to hand them success. They went out and created it themselves. Bezos didn't wait for a promotion at his hedge fund job. He quit and started Amazon. Musk didn't wait for the aerospace industry to hire him. He started SpaceX. Buffett didn't wait for someone to make him a portfolio manager. He started his own investment partnership. These people created their own opportunities because they understood that waiting for permission is a guaranteed path to mediocrity. And here is the beautiful thing. Creating your own opportunities isn't as hard as it sounds. You don't need to start Amazon or SpaceX. You just need to stop waiting and start acting. That might mean starting a side business. That might mean building an audience online. That might mean learning a high-value skill and offering it as a freelancer. That might mean networking aggressively until you find better opportunities. But whatever you do, you have to take control of your own career because nobody else is going to do it for you. So here is your action step. Identify the next level in your career, whether that's a promotion, a raise, a new job, or starting your own business, and stop waiting for someone to give it to you. Make a plan, build the skills, create the leverage, and go take it. I know what I just told you can be difficult to hear, because if you have been making these mistakes your whole career, you might be realizing right now that you've been on the wrong path. But don't panic. We are fixing this. And the next 3 mistakes I'm about to show you, when you fix them, are going to accelerate your wealth faster than you can imagine. But you have to pay close attention, because mistake number 4 is about risk. And most people get this completely backwards. Career mistake number 4. You are avoiding risk when you should be taking it. This is one of the most heartbreaking mistakes I see because people think they are being smart and responsible by playing it safe. But what they are actually doing is guaranteeing that they will never build any real wealth. Let me explain the paradox of risk. When you are young and you have nothing, you think you have everything to lose. So, you play it safe. You take the stable job. You avoid starting a business because you are afraid it might fail. You don't invest in stocks because you are worried about losing money. You make conservative choices because you think you are protecting yourself. But here is the truth. When you are young and you have nothing, you actually have nothing to lose. If you start a business and it fails, you are still young and you can recover. If you take a risk on a new career and it doesn't work out, you can pivot. If you invest aggressively and the market crashes, you have decades to recover. But what happens as you get older? You finally start to build some wealth. You buy a house, you have kids, you have responsibilities. And now you actually do have something to lose. So you become even more conservative. You avoid risk even more. Except now you are 50 years old, and you don't have time to recover if something goes wrong. So you are stuck playing defense for the rest of your life, trying to protect the modest amount you have saved. And you never build real wealth. This is completely backwards. The right strategy is to take massive risks when you are young and have nothing to lose, build wealth during those high-risk years, and then become conservative once you actually have something to protect. But most people do the exact opposite. They play it safe when they should be aggressive, and by the time they realize their mistake, it is too late. Let me give you the numbers. Let's say you are 25 years old and you have $10,000 saved. You could put it in a savings account earning 1% interest. Very safe. Or you could invest it in the stock market, where historically it grows at 10% per year. The savings account turns your $10,000 into $11,000 after 10 years. The stock market turns it into $26,000. You took a risk and you made an extra $15,000. But the real power shows up over 40 years. The savings account turns your $10,000 into $15,000. The stock market turns it into $452,000. You made $437,000 extra dollars, all by being willing to take a risk when you were young. But here is what most people do. They keep that $10,000 in savings for 20 years because they are afraid of losing it. Then, when they are 45, they finally put it in the stock market, and over the next 20 years until retirement, it grows to $67,000. They made $57,000, which is good, but it is 1/8 of what they would have made if they had taken the risk early. They played it safe when they should have been aggressive, and it cost them almost $400,000. And this isn't just about investing. This applies to your entire career. When you are young, you should be taking big swings, starting businesses, switching industries, moving to new cities for opportunities, taking jobs that terrify you. Because even if you fail, you learn, and those lessons compound into wisdom that makes you unstoppable later. But if you play it safe in your 20s and 30s, taking the stable job, staying in your comfort zone, avoiding anything risky, you will get to your 40s and 50s with no skills that are actually valuable, no network that can help you, and no experience taking risks. And then you are stuck. Because now you cannot afford to take risks, but you also cannot afford not to because you are behind and running out of time. So, here is what you need to do. If you are under 40, take more risk. Start that business you have been thinking about. Invest aggressively in assets that can grow. Switch careers if you are not learning. Move if better opportunities exist somewhere else. Bet on yourself. Because the biggest risk isn't taking chances and failing. The biggest risk is playing it safe and waking up at 65 with nothing. Career mistake number 5. You're confusing being busy with being productive. This might be the most common mistake I see. People work 60, 70, even 80 hours per week. They are exhausted, they are stressed out, they feel like they are working incredibly hard, and they are. But they are not making any money because they are confusing activity with accomplishment. Let me tell you the difference. Being busy means you are doing a lot of things. Answering emails, attending meetings, completing tasks, checking boxes. You feel productive because you are constantly moving, but at the end of the week, nothing has actually changed. You didn't generate more revenue. You didn't build anything valuable. You didn't move closer to your goals. You were just busy. Being productive means you are doing things that actually matter. Things that generate income, things that build assets, things that move you toward your objectives. You might only work 20 hours per week, but those 20 hours create real value. And that is the difference between working hard and getting rich versus working hard and staying poor. Here is a simple test. Look at everything you did last week and ask yourself, if I stopped doing this, would my income go down? If the answer is no, you are being busy but not productive. You are filling your time with activity that doesn't actually matter. And this is incredibly dangerous because it creates the illusion of progress. You feel like you are working hard. You tell yourself you are doing everything you can, but you are not moving forward. Let me give you some examples of being busy versus being productive. Being busy is answering every email within 5 minutes. Being productive is ignoring most emails and only responding to the ones that could generate income or build relationships that matter. Being busy is attending every meeting you are invited to. Being productive is declining most meetings and only attending the ones where decisions actually get made. Being busy is working on whatever task is right in front of you. Being productive is identifying the three things that would have the biggest impact on your income and doing only those things. Being busy is checking social media 50 times a day. Being productive is using social media strategically to build an audience or network with valuable people. Being busy is trying to do everything yourself. Being productive is delegating anything that doesn't directly generate income so you can focus on high-value activities. Do you see the pattern? Busy people let their time get eaten up by whatever comes at them. Productive people protect their time viciously and only spend it on activities that actually move the needle. And here is what is crazy. In most jobs, you could probably eliminate 80% of what you do, and your results wouldn't change at all. Because 80% of your time is spent on things that don't actually matter. Meetings that could have been emails. Emails that didn't need responses. Tasks that make you feel busy but don't generate value. Administrative work that is just bureaucratic nonsense. If you cut all of that out and focused only on the 20% of activities that actually generate results, you would get the same outcomes while working 1 day per week instead of 5. This is called the Pareto principle, and it's one of the most important concepts in business. 20% of your activities generate 80% of your results, which means 80% of your activities only generate 20% of your results. So if you can identify that critical 20% and focus all your energy there, you can accomplish more in less time than people who are busy all the time. So here is what you need to do for the next week. Track everything you do. Every task, every meeting, every email, every activity. At the end of the week, honestly evaluate which activities actually moved you toward your goals and which were just busy work. Then, next week, eliminate as much of the busy work as possible. Delegate it, automate it, or just stop doing it. And spend that freed up time on the 20% that actually matters. Because being busy doesn't make you rich. Being productive does. We are almost done, but I need you to stay focused for this last one, because career mistake number 6 is the most painful to watch. It is the mistake that breaks my heart more than any other, because it is the one where people do everything right. They work hard, they build skills, they take risks, and they still stay poor. Not because they failed, but because they never understood how to capture value. Career mistake number 6. You are creating value for other people instead of capturing it for yourself. This is the final trap that keeps hardworking people poor forever. Let me explain what I mean. Value creation is when you do something that generates money or solves a problem. Value capture is when you keep a portion of that value for yourself. And here is the brutal truth. The world is full of people who create enormous value but capture almost none of it. They work incredibly hard. They generate millions of dollars for their employers. They make other people rich, but they stay broke because they are employees, and employees create value but don't capture it. Let me give you a specific example. Let's say you are a salesperson and you generate $1 million in revenue for your company. You created $1 million in value, but you do not capture $1 million. You get paid perhaps $50,000 in salary plus a 5% commission. So you get paid $100,000 total. You created $1 million in value and captured $100,000. That is a 10% capture rate. Now, let's say you are the business owner. That same 1 million in revenue generates maybe $200,000 in profit after all expenses. You created 1 million in value and captured 200,000. That is a 20% capture rate, double what the employee got. But here's where it gets really interesting. Let's say you own the business and then you sell it. A business generating $200,000 in profit per year might sell for $1 million. So over 5 years, you captured 1 million in profit plus 1 million in sale proceeds. That is $2 million total. You created 5 million in value over 5 years and captured 2 million. That is a 40% capture rate. 4 times what the employee got. The same amount of value was created, but the outcomes are completely different, all because of value capture. This is why ownership matters. This is why equity matters. This is why being an employee, no matter how well paid, is a trap, because employees create value, but they don't capture it. Owners capture value. And if you spend your entire career creating value for other people without capturing any for yourself, you will work hard forever and have nothing to show for it. So here's what you need to understand. Every decision you make in your career should be evaluated through the lens of value capture. Am I capturing the value I'm creating, or am I giving it away? When you take a job, are you getting equity or just salary? When you build skills, are you building skills that let you capture value, or skills that just make you more valuable to an employer? When you start a business, are you setting it up to be something you can sell later, or just something that pays you while you are working? When you invest your time, are you investing it in assets you will own, or in making someone else's assets more valuable? These questions matter more than almost anything else, because you can work hard your entire life, create millions of dollars in value, and still retire broke if you never learn to capture that value. And conversely, you can work modestly hard, create moderate value, and retire wealthy if you capture a high percentage of what you create. This is why real estate investors get rich. They create value by improving properties, and they capture that value through appreciation and rent. This is why business owners get rich. They create value by building systems, and they capture that value through profits and eventually selling the business. This is why investors get rich. They create value by allocating capital efficiently, and they capture that value through returns. But employees create value by working, and they capture almost none of it. So if you want to build wealth, you have to transition from being someone who creates value for others to being someone who captures value for yourself. That might mean starting a business. That might mean negotiating for equity instead of just salary. That might mean building assets that appreciate. That might mean creating intellectual property you own. But whatever you do, you have to start thinking about value capture. Because if you don't, you will be the hardworking person who makes everyone else rich while staying poor yourself. Let me bring all of this together. I have spent decades watching people work, and the pattern is clear. The people who get rich are not the smartest. They are not the hardest workers. They are not the luckiest. They are the people who avoid these 6 mistakes. They build leverage instead of trading time for money. They optimize for learning instead of salary. They create opportunities instead of waiting for permission. They take risks when they are young instead of playing it safe. They focus on being productive instead of being busy. And they capture value instead of creating it for others. If you can fix these 6 mistakes, everything changes. Your income increases, your wealth compounds, your stress decreases, and your options expand. But if you keep making these mistakes, nothing will change. You will work for 40 years and retire broke, wondering what went wrong. And I will tell you what went wrong. You worked hard, but you worked on the wrong things. You were busy, but you were not productive. You created value, but you did not capture it. And that is the difference between working hard and getting rich versus working hard and staying poor. So, here is what I want you to do right now. Take out a piece of paper and write down which of these 6 mistakes you are currently making. Be honest. Then, next to each mistake, write down one specific action you can take this week to start fixing it. Not someday, this week, because knowledge without action is useless, and you don't have time to waste. Every day you keep making these mistakes is a day you stay poor. Every day you fix them is a day you move closer to wealth. The choice is yours. But I have given you the map. Now you have to walk the path.